Exactly. Welcome back to the program. This is News and Views with me, Julie Ali. And first up, we'll be talking with Narendh Ganesh. He is a Durban community activist, and there's been lots happening out in Durban, very especially since the insurrections in July, and obviously now talk about the 16th of December being commemorated as the Phoenix Massacre Day. And there is a certain organization that's been involved in wanting this to happen. Naren is, as I've said, an activist, and I think he is not happy with the status quo as far as this being the obviously the day that is being set aside to commemorate the people who died in that so-called massacre. Naren, morning, welcome to the program.
Morning. Thank you for having me on.
Um, it's a pleasure. This is a very sore point, I should imagine, with people in the greater KZN area, very especially the people of Phoenix. Explain to us what exactly is going on here, because you're an activist. I presume you live in Phoenix. You're a resident of the suburb, or you in and around that area. And then the other player here is uh, Xolani Dube, and he is with the Xubera Institute for Research and Development. So, two people talking about the 16th of December being celebrated or observed as Phoenix Massacre Day. What's your position on this, and why do you feel so strongly about it?
Okay. Firstly, I live in an area contiguous to Phoenix, and we were attacked during the unrest. In fact, my house was shot at. I was shot at point blank range. How they missed, God knows. But be that as it may, I find it a very mischievous little uh, commemoration that is contemplated for the 16th of December. Firstly, the term massacre evokes a certain kind of emotion, it, and it has a specific meaning. Now, I think there were about 36 people who lost their lives in the Phoenix area during the period. Over 300 people lost their lives countrywide as a result of the unrest. Uh, and, Phoenix has been made the hotspot or the excuse for the entire period of the July unrest. And this is dangerous because in a country whose political strata, whose social fabric is very fragile at the moment, we cannot foment this idea of racist celebrations. And it is a racist celebrations because it is about the Indo-African aspect. And we must remember there were two other incidents in 1949 and 1985 where there were Indo-African unrest and attacks. And, with the advent of democracy and freedoms for South Africa, I don't think it's necessary for us to perpetuate this kind of narrative because all it does is it deepens the divide rather. And what are we to commemorate? If we need to commemorate, then we need to commemorate every life lost as a result of crime in this country per day. We lose about 50 plus people a day who are murdered through crime. That's a massacre. So it's disingenuous of the Xubera Institute and Mr. Dube to actually call for such a commemoration. And I'm disturbed about it because having been a victim, thank God I survived, and the community that I live in, this perpetuates racism rather than, cements some kind of cohesion between groups, especially
When
after
did,
an incident.
all right, when did you become aware of the 16th of December being will be commemorated as Phoenix Massacre Day? Whom was this passed by? And I'm wondering what sort of engagement happened. Who were the role players in deciding that the 16th of December will be observed as Phoenix Massacre Day. And I can see you and probably a whole host of people feel very strongly about this because it's sending out the wrong message. Just to read from one of the tweets that Xolani had sent out, the second part of the tweet reads, South African natives, keyword, South African natives in KZN are collectively owning the grief, pain, and scars of the Phoenix Massacre. I think the whole of South Africa has felt the pain and has felt the repercussions of the riots that happened then. We're still trying to recover economically and otherwise. How do you respond to that? I'm sure you're in total agreement.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, I received this message yesterday from a friend, and I do have Mr. Xolani Dube as a contact on my WhatsApp group. So I sent him a message asking him if this is true, and I would like to engage with him, and he did not respond. So I decided to put out a message that we need to take legal action to interdict the so-called. Look, it's going to be a commemoration by a specific group. It's not going to be a declaration of a national day of commemoration, obviously. But the very fact that two words, as you put it, firstly the natives and then the term Phoenix Massacre, they contradict what our constitution talks about in terms of a non-racial society. And the fomenting of any kind of action that leads to deepening of the divide must be halted. And it's time that people stand up. It's time that we say enough is enough of this nonsense. Every day we try to talk about how the country can come together as one. Yet these are the little incidents that takes away the good work that is happening. And I totally agree that we should not and must not sit back any longer and take the body punches. We need to fight back.
Narendh, apart from trying to get in touch directly with the author of this piece, I'm wondering who else you've consulted. What are the legal eagles saying about this matter? And I think it's really very important to make direct contact with Mr. Dube and have a chat and try to express we are all South Africans, we are all natives of South Africa, and we want to overcome this terrible, terrible pain of the riots that we've just been through, the damage it's done to the entire country. And I think that it's a reasonable request, and I think there is room to be able to work together. That's the one statement. And then number two, in terms of do you have legal grounds to oppose this? How is this going to play out if it should go the legal route?
Look, I've made an overture to Mr. Dube. I'm waiting for some kind of response. Should this not be forthcoming, I've put out a call for legal eagles to come aboard and assist me with the legal aspect as to how we approach this, whether we interdict this kind of action in a court of law. Because, if we look at the racial aspect and constitutionally, this might be construed as perpetuating a narrative that is based on a race aspect, because Phoenix, the so-called Phoenix Massacre, is directly related to the killing of so-called blacks by so-called Indians. And I say so-called because I'm always loath to use racial classification, noting that our constitution says we are a non-racial society. We are human beings at first, and that's first and foremost must be considered. So I will await some kind of engagement with Mr. Dube, and should he not want to engage, then I'm afraid that we'll have to take some kind of action, because there are people who might act on these kind of activities, or some people are so steep in
Incitement.
the
Directly, it's outright incitement.
yes, and you know they might. We know what commemorations in South Africa can lead to, you know, especially one that has a racial intonation, and we need to prevent these things from happening. So, to answer your question briefly, I'll just wait for his engagement, and should nothing come forth, then I will try and engage legal counsel for further action.
Narendh Ganesh, thank you indeed for taking up this issue. You will be serving the South African people well. You are also the chairperson of the Duff Road Civic Association, and you are a Durban community activist. I would also perhaps suggest to you to take the issue directly to the Human Rights Commission. I think that you'll get all of the support and the backing that you need to address this issue. So please go right ahead and get in touch with the HRC. Thank you indeed for being with us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
The time is exactly 8:32. In a minute or two, we'll be joined by Charles Pala. He is the national organizer of GIWUSA. We're going to be talking about the call. Well, it started already on Monday, the downing of tools at the clover plants. It is exactly 8:33 a.m.